I'm Jay Taylor. I'm the editor of Jay Taylor's Gold, Energy, and Tech Stocks. That's a weekly and monthly newsletter, and I host a radio show called Turning Hard Times into Good Times. It airs every Tuesday on the Voice America Business Channel. And I'm here with Dr. Quinton Hennigh. He is a technical advisor, and he's on the board of directors of Eskay Mining. Eskay Mining has a project, a very exciting project, a VMS project, located just south, next door actually, to the famous Eskay Creek. A polymetallic mine is one of the richest mines in Canadian history. And what's really exciting about this story is it looks like they could be on to another such, well, some people are referring to it as Eskay Creek 2.0. So I'm really glad that Quinton is here to fill us in on the latest of what's going on with Eskay Mining. Thanks for joining me, Quinton.
Thank you, Jay.
You know, a lot of companies are looking for your services, and you always have to see something you really like in terms of the management, or in terms of mostly, I guess, to start with, the project that has to make economic sense to you. And you're always looking for large scale deposits. You know, go big or go home is sort of your model. But tell us what you liked about this project, why you got involved, and are you seeing what you expected to see so far?
Yeah, look, it's a pleasure to talk about this story. You know, I look back when I was going to university, late 80s, early 90s. Eskay was one of the, most famous discoveries of that decade or that period. It was a phenomenal discovery. You know, the high grade they hit, it took a while to find it, but the high grade interval they hit, I think, was like 200 feet of an ounce or something, just obscene. And, those those types of discoveries are pretty few and far between. Anyway, I remember reading the Northern Miner. Back then we didn't have internet, of course. We had to read the Northern Miner every week, and I remember running down to the library, the Lakes library at the Colorado School of Mines every week, and reading the Northern Miner to see what, how they had advanced it, any tidbits about what the geology might be, these kind of things. But at the time, people didn't know exactly what it was. It took a little while, but they, figured out the geology and figured out it is indeed a VMS deposit. And one of the key people that worked on that, in fact, he did his dissertation there, is a guy named Thomas Monarchy, who's now a professor at the Colorado School of Mines. And Thomas, I've gotten to know over the past few years. Look, Mac Balcom has asked me several times over, say, 10 years to help, but I didn't have the team. I didn't have a team to put in place. But when I talked to Thomas about September of 2019 or thereabouts, I said, what do you think? Do you think we could come up with a strategy to tackle this? And we did. We brought in a postdoc student there, or not student, but postdoc named John DeDecker, who's now our vice president of exploration. And between John and Thomas, you have basically the smartest brains in the VMS world, right? So we have the right team. Now the property, it's right south of Eskay Creek, which was indeed the highest grade gold mine on earth for many, many years. Its head grade was about 46 grams per ton gold and about 2.1 kilograms of silver per ton. I mean, just crazy grades, okay? Yeah. The thought of finding another one of these is just like, any geologist's dream, okay? We set about doing a review of data starting in October. I remember the first meeting down at Mines, October of 2019. And we got a hold of some of the historic photos of core. Look, a lot of the core just doesn't exist anymore. So we had to work from scratch. But it became clear that several of the targets on the property looked a heck of a lot like Eskay Creek, even though they hadn't seen drilling for, 25 or 30 years. Okay, let's do some more science. So basically, we did research for about 5 or 6 months. I'll give John, 90% of the credit there, but he put together a pretty clear picture that the rest of the prospective belt for VMS, these precious metal-rich VMS, extends onto Eskay Mining's ground. I would say we have 85% of the prospective ground for these types of deposits. All right, Skeena's doing a great job. They've got a great resource. They're doing methodical drilling right now. and they're developing what should be a fantastic mine. You know, they're basically taking an older asset and looking at the we'll call it lower grade. It's still high grade. I mean, you know, we're
Yeah.
talking four gram gold equivalent, which is fantastic. And they're simply looking at what can be done to take value out of the remaining resource that's there, which is great. But I'm telling you, we have 85% of the rest of the ground. Okay, and what we see in many places are basically discoveries that have already been made. You know, to be frank, TV Jeff, look, there were a handful of drill holes in this area before we decided to drill here. But they date back to the early 1990s.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And they were wildcat holes. You know, they were scattered here and there. And what basis they drilled, we don't even know. There's no record. But we know that there were some historic holes, and we know that a few of them hit some sniffs of gold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but when we went in the summer of last year, and the guys got out in the bush, they got up on the site, and they can see some outcrops, see the VMS sticking out of the ground. And then we got our SkyTem data back, which really EM, you know, airborne EM highlights, can highlight sulfide targets.
Mm-hmm.
It became clear we're dealing with something that's enormous. So we quickly focused our efforts, you know, on drilling at TV Jeff, and we ended up drilling 20 holes. And I've never been on a first pass drill program where basically every single hole visually you could see mineralized intervals, either one or two mineralized intervals in each and every hole.
VMS.
Now, you know, we have assays for 9 holes. Okay, we're waiting on assays for the remaining 11 holes from that program right now. We've been told by the lab late January, early February. Look, you know, you got to be patient these days. But I have very, very high confidence that the remaining holes that we have will be as good, or in many cases better, than what we drilled, because the latter holes, a lot of the latter holes, we kind of had a little better understanding of what was going on. So we were able to step out in a more meaningful way.
Right.
But it's just the beginning. I mean, we've drilled 20 holes in a system that's absolutely enormous. The strike length around TV Jeff, probably 6 kilometers, in which we see EM anomalies that are likely generated by these sulfide bodies. And then over at Siblulu, which really hasn't seen any drilling in many years now, we see the natural extensions of the Eskay Creek system itself. Skeena did drilling at a place called McKay Adit, which is literally 50 meters away from our property boundary. And they hit fantastic results. You know, there's multiple units too. That's a new kind of paradigm shift. There's evidence of multiple host rock units. Now it's not just the mudstone between the basalt and the rhyolite. We're looking at other mudstones that are further down section. This thing is just coming up trumps every time we look at it. It's fantastic.
Quinton, could you give us an idea I should have looked it up before we went online here, but what sort of assays did you get? What were the assay values? They were pretty good, as I recall.
Oh, you're talking about the 9 holes that we
yes.
Look, I don't have them right in front of my face, but you know, there was a high grade intercept of a little over 5 meters of over an ounce per ton gold equivalent. I think it was 33 gram per ton gold equivalent.
Good start.
You know, so that's telling us that we have the potential for the high grade, you know, the Eskay type, we'll call it Eskay Creek type. But we also saw every single hole we drilled had an interval of, say, 10 to maybe 30 meters of 2 to 4 gram gold equivalent, which is right in line with what Skeena's seeing. Like if you look at Skeena's news and you look down the table of results they have, the drill holes that we've announced all have numbers that are basically in line with the meters and the grades that they're seeing.
Right. And so these VMS deposits sometimes can run in clusters, I understand. And there's a lot. I mean, this is a big project. It's a big property. So there's a lot of other targets longer term. But I guess you got enough to look at right here with the TV and those two projects.
No, look, that's a good question. We're not going to just focus at TV Jeff this year. Look, I kind of use the 80-20 rule. We're going to probably put most of our effort at TV Jeff and Siblulu, which are the known, we'll call it step out drilling type targets. But we've also got about a dozen new SkyTem anomalies that are just screaming to be drilled. All right, so we anticipate drilling at least a dozen new targets with one rig. So we'll have 4 rigs on site. There'll be 2 rigs going at TV Jeff, 1 rig over at Sibalulu. And then, the other rig the 4th rig will be going and testing new targets. Absolutely.
All right. So, I mean, market cap of 330 million thereabouts is what I see. So it's not a cheapie like some, but I guess we have to look at the prize, the size of the prize potentially.
Yeah, the better way to think of it, Jay, anybody that remembers the Eskay discovery.
Yes, that's right. That's
all
true.
you have to do is ask yourself, I wonder what that would be worth today.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And I should mention that part of this project, I think, is a joint venture with a company that you know very well. 20% they have.
Yes.
Talking about
the northern half of the property is 80% Eskay, 20% Kirkland Lake.
Right.
It's referred to as the SIB property. And then the southern half of our property is Corey, which is owned 100%.
So we look forward to those assays coming back from the other 11 drill holes. And I guess from that, then you'll start to plan your drill program going forward this year at the TV. And
we've got most of it planned out.
You've got a plan.
We got it planned. We got the rigs. We got our logistics all sorted out. We are ready to go.
You know where you're going to drill already. You're not dependent on values coming back from the other holes. You've seen what you like to see in the drill core, and you're chafing at the bit, I guess, ready to go.
Absolutely. We've got it nuttered out completely. And
the company is well financed. You don't need to go back to the well right away.
That's right. We raised money in, I think, November, December. And the reason for that, look, the competition for rigs and stuff right now is extreme.
Right.
I wanted to make sure we have the money that we can commit to the drill contractors that we can get 4 rigs on site.
Right. Excellent. Well, it's a very exciting story, Quinton. Thank you so much for taking the time to share this with our audience.
Certainly.
I look forward to talking to you again sometime soon.
All right. Thanks, Jay.
You bet. Thank you.